What's up, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to make a quick video today and break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm also going to talk about some very big things coming out for tomorrow, which is going to cause some high volatility for particular sections in the markets. But just note that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Webull link. If you deposit any amounts of money, you're guaranteed 12 free stocks. If you deposit $500, you're guaranteed 20 in total, and deposit $2,000 or more, and you're guaranteed 40. The offer ends very soon in just 9 days. Anyways, now let's talk about these charts. So as far as the market is going so far, we're seeing the bulls have a bigger edge because the market dipped in the morning as we got some fears involving yields going up and less confidence about the Fed potentially giving us the same cuts or the same extent of cuts that we were initially expecting. So that's what happened to the markets in the morning because of yields going up. But then as time went on, I mentioned in my previous video that there's going to likely be a bounce attempt as long as SPY tries to hold above its 20 EMA at 582. I called out that we could be looking for not only the gap fill, but an attempt to get up to about very close to all-time highs, maybe just a little bit under them. And that's what happened so far. So we called this move, guys. This was no surprise. And so far, the buyers are once again back and are trying to push the market even higher. So the question is, what's going to happen from this point on? I'm going to talk about this in just a minute. Let's first talk about some data. So the first thing worth mentioning is that tomorrow is going to be a very quiet day. It's going to be Wednesday, October 23rd, 2024. Please know we have Bowman giving a speech. We have some home sales data, and everything else is very, very minor, not to mention the Fed Beige book. Then for Wednesday, okay, it's going to be tomorrow. In the morning, we have Boeing, AT&T, and Coca-Cola announcing their earnings. But then after the market closes, we have IBM and then the notorious Tesla stock. Tesla's going to be making a very, very big move. So please be ready for that. Tesla's either going to pump really hard or it's about to dump. We will have to see which way it goes. I can't wait to see what Elon Musk and the team announces, so get ready for some high volatility. Now, I also want to mention to everyone that today we had GM's earnings. So far, the earnings cycle has not been quite bad. The majority of banks are, at least on paper, doing quite well. Does this necessarily mean that the economy is in a good place? Not necessarily, right? Earnings are not the same thing as the economy. I'm just saying that that's what's been reported thus far. Now, GM announced their earnings. They did relatively well, beating on EPS and revenue, and their guidance was above expectations. They also announced some good plans for future growth and improved margins, which is not bad whatsoever. So good job by GM for decent earnings. As long as earnings are decent, the market is going to continue to hold up. But tomorrow, the big ones are coming out from Boeing to AT&T and Coca-Cola. And after market close, we have Tesla. So I can't wait to see what Tesla gives us. Now, we also have the fear and greed index currently at greed. Extreme greed is making up the majority of momentum as we're holding above our 125 daily moving average. And then for other factors out there, the puts and call option ratio is still kind of flat in the greedy phase because right now the call buyers are returning and more puts are being closed. We saw some fear about the Fed earlier today because of yields going up, so just be mindful of that. But as time went on, we started to see things normalize as we started to see the current rates expectation of a 50 basis point cut go up to about 91.1%. So the market still is more fixated on a 50 basis point cut for November. With that being said, what do I see for the charts? What is my prediction? So SPY is very simple. We're looking at 582 as our support. Okay, if 582.38 fails us, our 20 EMA, we're looking for 580 and then 579.3, our 50 EMA. For resistance, we're looking for basically 584. If that breaks, we're looking for these highs up here to be retesting the 585s. So we'll see which way we end up going. In my personal opinion, I think that going into tomorrow, we might actually gap down a little bit and see another dip attempt. But then there might be buyers that come back who are still trying to defend things. Why do I say that? Because when you look at SPY, we came down to these lows, we got bought back up. We came down, got bought back up, came down, got bought back up, came down, got bought back up. So as we dip tomorrow morning, look and see if we can attempt to push back up in this range. And for now, I think SPY is range bound between 580 and 585. So that's all I'm seeing for the time being. A little bit of a dip and a bounce as the most likely case. For ES, we're dipping right now. Look for a gap down tomorrow morning. A little bit of a dip that could be coming just like how we saw today. It could be dipping close to about 58.80 flat, maybe even all the way down to 58.73. So in that range, before we see some buyers step in and start pushing us back up towards the higher 5800s. So I think there's going to be a small dip coming to about 58.80 or maybe a little bit below that before the buyers come back and start pushing us back up. So we'll see if that ends up being the case. As far as Nvda goes, we're also range bound. We're seeing buyers defending 142 and resistance at 144. I think for now, Nvidia is going to be range bound. Might dip a little bit tomorrow morning. It's about 142 before it tries to get bought back up. But for now, we're just consolidating. So give this a little bit more time to develop. For Bitcoin, we're stuck in a range as well. We have 67,000 as our support, very close to the 50 EMA, and 67,728 is our resistance at the 20 EMA, going back and forth, back and forth, and back and forth. That's all I am seeing for Bitcoin for the timing. There's not really a whole lot else that's going on. But if we break 67,728, we could try to break out much higher towards the 68,000 area. Otherwise, we remain more range bound. Now, for Tesla, this is a big one. Tesla is range bound for now, but it's going to be making a much larger move because we have earnings coming out. We've been stuck between 215 and 220 as our range. It's going to likely remain in that range tomorrow until we get earnings. Once again, earnings come out for Tesla tomorrow. After market close, Tesla has its earnings. Tesla's either going to give us good guidance and some interesting projections, which could cause the share price to run back up to about 226 and then eventually back up to this gap resistance around 233. And if that breaks, we have that gap fill all the way back up there. If we're bearish on Tesla and earnings is a flop, okay, let's just say that they don't give us the guidance we're looking for. Let's just say things don't go well for them. Or let's just say everything is decent, but they don't really excite investors. That could lead to the share price dipping to not only fill the gap to 211, but also come all the way down to these lows to revisit 202. So there's going to be a big drop in Tesla, either a 15-point drop or a 15-point pump at least. So we'll see which way it goes tomorrow after earnings. So just get ready, guys. Please be very patient. We'll see what Tesla ends up doing. For NQ is range bound. If we end up losing 20,400, we're looking for a big dump all the way back down towards the support at 20,200. If we hold 20,400, we're looking for a big rebound back up to about 20,600. We're range bound right now between the 20,300 and 20,600 area. I think we might dip a little bit tomorrow morning towards 20,400 and 20 to 20,470. This range down here where the EMAs happen to be. And then once we're there, we're going to be looking for a rebound attempt. So look for a little bit of a dip and then a rebound as the most likely cases. So we'll see if that ends up being the case. For the QQQ, we're also kind of range bound right now. If we lose 494, we're looking for a dip back down to 491. If we hold support, we could attempt to rebound for 498. I think tomorrow the QQQ is going to be dipping to about 493, maybe a little bit below that before it attempts to rebound for 496. And we'll see how it ends up going from here. But watch and see if that ends up being the case. For Aapl has this resistance around this 235 area. If that fails us, we're looking for 234, then eventually 233 is our supports. We're range bound right now. Aapl might dip to about 234 tomorrow morning, but then I think buyers might defend it as we remain range bound. So we're waiting for more data next week. Otherwise, I see some range bound price action on Aapl. Netflix is anticipated to be dipping a little bit lower towards where these wicks are around the 760 area, then 756 below that. So look for a little bit of downside, and then we'll see what it ends up doing after that. But watch that as the most likely case. For CELH, I do see a little bit of a downtrend right here. We could retest 32 before it starts dipping back down lower towards this imbalance, taking us down to 30. So we'll see if that ends up being the case. For Supermicro, we have kind of like a double top here. We have resistance around this 46.71 area. If this rejects, we're looking for a dip back down towards this 44 area. But I think that it might kind of pop and then start dipping back down to those levels. For Rivian, as long as we're above 10.39, I'm looking for a nice rebound attempt for this 10.75 area. So it could try to push a little bit higher tomorrow for the 10.5 and 10.7 area, but we will see what happens with Tesla's earnings, how that affects us. So be very mindful of that. For SoFi, as long as we hold our 20 EMA, this is favoring upside for us to get up to about 10.8. If we lose 10.5, we're looking for 10.16 below that. As of right now, we're holding our 20 EMA, so the odds are favoring 10.8. So we'll see if that continues, at least moving forward. For the IWM, we're actually looking a little bit more bearish. It might dip a little bit back down to 220. We'll see if it holds or not. If it holds, we bounce and go back up to 222. And if we lose 220, we're looking for a dip back down to at least 218. So look for 220 to be tested. We'll see if we bounce or not off of that tomorrow morning. For AMD, we're kind of bearish. We were starting to lose 155. If that fails supports and we don't reclaim 155, we're looking for a dip to fill this gap all the way down to about 150. So look for some downside potential. ARM is range bound between 152.5 and 150.5. If 150.5 fails us, we're going to be dumping back down to 147. If we break past 152, we turn back up. We're just kind of consolidating. So I think it's going to continue to consolidate for now, and we'll see which way it breaks. Coin is likely going to be testing the 20 EMA at 208. We'll see if it bounces off this or not. If it does not bounce, it's going to be dipping back down to 205. So give this the time it needs. Amazon's also trying to hold support right over here. It might dip back down to about 187.5 to 188, and then it may try to rebound off of that. So we'll see how it goes, but I think this might actually dip a little bit lower before we see anything else. So just give this the time it needs. For Meta, we look more bullish as we're getting a potential breakout out of this falling wedge. Now, if we were to lose 578, I would turn a little bit more bearish for 575. As long as we're above 578, I do favor a push for about the 585 area. So as long as we, hold above 578, we're looking for a push for 585, and we'll see how things end up going. For Microsoft, we're trying to break out right here. We're looking for 425 as our support. We'll see if we bounce or not. I think it might be dipping to the breakout area. So look for a small dip tomorrow morning. And as long as we hold 425, we could rebound. If 425 fails us, though, we're going back down to 421. So look for 425 to be tested, bounce, and we turn back up to 430, lose it, and we go back down to 421. But I think it's going to dip a little bit, and hopefully it gets a bounce. For Google, we look a little bit more bullish. As long as we don't lose 165, this is favoring 168 is the most likely case. So look for a dip towards 165, then a bounce. If it bounces off that 168 is coming. If not, 163 comes. I think it's going to dip a bit, then hopefully bounce. That's the most likely case. For DJT, we got our breakout. So we're actually up quite a bit after some bullish news came out. This is on a breakout as we have a nice looking handle that's forming. So I'm going to be looking for an attempt to get up to about 37 as long as we're above 35. 37 is coming if 35 holds. And if we lose 32, we're looking for 30 all over again. So watch to see if that ends up being the case. We look more bullish. The VIX is more bearish. As of right now, the market is bullish as the VIX is bearish. The VIX may continue to fall off this head and shoulders, and we have this imbalance below to fill. For now, the VIX is still looking bearish. But don't forget that the election is going to be a big factor for the markets. And I still think the VIX has that gap to fill. So there's going to be a big rug pull coming, but it may not happen until November. Maybe November or early next year. My view still stays the same. We're still waiting for it. For now, we look more bearish. The 10-year made a big move up as we saw some more fears involving the Fed for today. That's why we saw the market kind of like dip a little bit. And then the 10-year is also correlated with the dollar as the dollars continue to break out. Could this be an early reaction? The market's about to get a rug pull later, or is this just a coincidence? We'll just have to wait and see. So what is my view of the market? Look for a little bit of a dip tomorrow morning, then a bounce is the most likely case. As long as SPY could, even if it dips down to like 582, if not 580, and tries to rebound, as long as we try to get back above 582, we have potential to bounce. If not, be a little bit careful. But I think that the most likely case is that we dip a little bit in the morning, then we see a rebound as the day goes on, as the most likely projection, in my personal opinion. With that being said, guys, I want to make this video a little bit shorter than usual because I do have something coming up. So I just want to say I really appreciate you guys so much for your attentions. I hope you guys have an absolutely incredible rest of your day. And I will be back with the video tomorrow morning before the market opens. Don't forget, there's not really a whole lot of data coming out for the week, even tomorrow specifically, in terms of our economic calendar. But there's going to be a very intense data coming out once we get Tesla's earnings. That's going to be the biggest factor for the markets. Tesla and IBM's earnings. So get ready for all of that, guys. We'll see how earnings end up looking. I think the market may dip a little bit tomorrow morning, but then we're going to be looking to see if we get a rebound as time goes on. And so far, the market's holding up well. All right. So thank you for listening. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day, night, or evening, and peace out.